stock market has just had an absolutely massive pump to new all-time highs. What we're going to be looking through in this video is, are we likely to see the same on Bitcoin? Over the next few weeks, is it likely that Bitcoin sees a brand new all-time high and follow along with the stock market? Over recent months, it's definitely been weaker in a direct comparison. Stocks in general have been super strong. Bitcoin, yeah, no, let's be honest, it's been very sideways, neutral. We've had some good day trades, we've had a few good swing trades in the mix, but relatively sideways price action. But is all that about to change? Are we finally about to see a big break on Bitcoin, or is it another nice rally that we've seen, but another, let's say, short-lasted rally, to be fair? Well, that's what I'll be covering in this video. And if you listened closely, if you watched well, my last YouTube update, I was explaining why at the time I was in a short trade. That video made while we were around $106,000, and I was looking for a further drop on Bitcoin to my target around $105,000, where I was then waiting for a long trade. Since that last video, it was pretty perfect because we did get, as wanted to see, continuation to the downside. We hit the target that I gave around $105,000, where I closed my shorts, got into a long, and that brings us where we are today, trading almost to $110,000. This was the long trade setup that I actually shared the exact entry invalidation moving on towards the target. What you see in front of your eyes now, this is the same setup in place. So I'm going to start off by, real quick recap of this trade, how it's progressing, and then what we are looking at next. So to start off with, let's just play this quick, literally 5-second clip from that video explaining why I was looking for that continuation drop to where I would close a short and get into a long. Because if and when we drop to, let's say, $105,200, I will analyze the order flow again. I will say to myself, well, I like the order flow. I will take the long trade. Okay, so I was waiting for around $105,200 for my next important level of support, where we will analyze the order flow and wait, of course, for a lower term time frame entry trigger on top of that. That was actually given in the end, where we had a swing failure pattern. This is what I call a mini range SFP. So we got this swing failure pattern of the mini range low. Okay, so there's your low. Of course, front running the daily naked point of control. We got a bit of a rally to the upside, but you're aware of this low for a swing failure pattern onto the daily naked point of control. Okay, most importantly as well, this low being put in at $105,226. If you were paying close attention to the entry there, $105,200. So we got the swing failure pattern of the previous low onto the $105,200 level, onto the daily naked point of control, all of that lining up together for the perfect lower term time frame entry trigger. And from there, it really was off to the races. As I've been saying, we had to remain patient while we're trading at 106, 107, 108,000, right? There's no time for longs then. You got to wait for the drop. You got to wait for the target zone around $105,000. And then when it does get hit, you do not get scared, right? So you plan the trade. And as I show you all here a second, this was yesterday posted, on over on Twitter X, where I'm closing my short for full profit. Longs, I'm ready for a big rise. This was still while we were down and around the entry, right? So hope you paid attention to this video because it playing out perfectly. The long trade was taken, shorts closed, and as we progressed through the day, that 105,200 level that I was giving for that long has just been absolutely wonderful as we go from strength to strength. Yesterday, $108,000 in the afternoon, and here we are today with an even bigger rise to the upside. Epic long trade setup there, it really was. Giving us up to $110,000. And earlier this morning, we've had a rise since then. Just to be clear, in no short trades at all. Preference would be higher. In all my longs, no short trades. And just so you can see what we've been looking at in the Discord over the past few days, we, of course, were waiting for that $105,000 zone. We then hit the naked point of control swing failure pattern, giving an entry trigger, throughout the day, just explaining, this was a really big level ready and waiting for it. Of course, you had to have your alert set, but it was very much planned, actionable, lovely trades, and that's what we love at Chart Champions, right? So then, yesterday was in no short trades, of course, in some longs and preferences for higher next. Well, what did we get? We got higher next. So that was the quick, a little bit longer than a recap, but a little bit longer than a minute, but let's say it was 2 minutes. to be kind. And that then leaves us, what are we looking at next? You know, answering the question that I said at the start of the video. This could be a bit of a short one. Are we about to breach up into new all-time highs, or the caveat of the whole story? Are we about to see another lower high? Technically, right? We could be. There's your all-time high. Well, there's a lower high after that. Well, even close. You see how close Bitcoin can get here. This was an ever so slight. We're talking about a few dollars lower high. But nevertheless, that's the all-time high. That is a lower high. When you think about it, that's a few dollars, but that's a lower high. And what are we up to now? Well, again, it's just a few $100s, but we're battling on a lower high. Okay, so we're battling for a lower high here. Of course, the bears are battling for that, we could say. But just so you understand, like, the chart tells a story, and that would be the story for the bears, that lower high, lower high, lower high. Wow, lovely rally to the upside, right? From $98,000 to $110,000, but it is still right now another lower high. So that's what we're going to analyze in this video. Are we about to see brand new all-time highs, or is it a bigger drop to come? And, you know, we've seen lovely big rallies in this market, but, you know, that doesn't mean it goes to new all-time highs next. So, one thing that I want to mention before we get into that, and this is just a really quick announcement that we got going on here, and that is we're about to give away $10,000 for absolutely free. We've teamed up with Bybit for this exclusive $10,000 giveaway. So check out some of our upcoming videos here on YouTube, some live streams where we're going to be giving away free crypto. So I don't think anyone goes anything bad about this. Wonderful opportunity. Just tune into our videos, and yeah, we're going to be giving away $10,000 to some lucky viewers, right? So on top of that, there's a second and final announcement, and that is another deal from Bybit. They're giving away themselves. This is $100,000 USDC in prizes up for grabs. That also includes iPhone, Macs, PS5s, etc. So the whole shebang. And this is in combination with the Bybit EU. So you can, of course, register via the affiliate link that we got here. This will all be down in the description. If you are in the EU, you really got to take advantage of this sooner rather than later, right? So this is a wonderful opportunity. Bybit EU now live. Head over, register here, and you know we're going to be giving away those goods along with Bybit, and it's going to be a very, very, very big few weeks. And yeah, we're giving away $10,000 here on the YouTube. You can sign up for a new Bybit account over on Bybit EU and be up for grabs with $100,000. So yeah, don't miss out on these epic deals. All you need to tune in, sign up, and you know, have a good time with us at Chart Champions. With that said, now let's move on to what are we looking at next here. So, well, the first thing that I want to start off with is pulling a fixed range of the whole range. So really, when we analyze this chart, there's a few ways that we can say, where are we range bound, Daniel? Of course, we've had a massive rally from the lows back in 2022, right? All the way up to brand new all-time highs. But we've never really cleared the highs that we put in at the start of the year. So at the start of the year, we put in a significant high around $109,000. Yeah, we breached above it back in May. We breached a little bit above it at the start of June, right? And now we're at the start of July trying again. So the more times you test the level, the weaker it gets. But because we're still at this point from the start of the year, we can view this as one big range. Okay, so one big range. And you can see for now, the important level would be the value area high. So we can say, for a very simple use case, while we're above the bigger range value area high, well, Bitcoin is strong. Okay, in the regards of strength versus weakness on a very black and white level, we're above the range value area high. So that is strength. We are trying to see it. But basically, when we trade above the value area high, we're trading outside of value. And that does one of two things. Either you see sustained price action above the value, thus people are starting to, you know, essentially they're thinking to themselves, you know, I was happy to buy Bitcoin heavily at the point of control, around $90,000. Well, now $110,000. A lot of people view that as overvalued. There's less buying activity. Of course, it goes up, you know, temporarily. It doesn't sustain though. The value is not really a true value, and price comes back down into the value area where people are happy to buy once again. And so you can see each time we've got above this value area high, it's been very shortly lived. Few days up above, again, few days up above, back down below. Now we're going for that third attempt. Again, the more times we test a level, more time we spend above it in that regards, the weaker that resistance gets. Okay, so here on the third attempt, it's much more likely to break up than it was on the first attempt. okay, because we're now on the third attempt. There's only so much people that will be willing to sell at these prices. Bitcoin is a very bullish asset. But what we're saying is we want to see sustained prices above this. So today, here we are. We're about to see our first real close back and above these previous $108,000 levels. So what I would like to see from, again, this is a swing trade, a higher term time frame perspective, but wouldn't it be great to actually see a few consecutive daily closes above this level and actually see some more volume? This is the key, increases of volume above these levels, because each time we've seen it come above, it's like the volume tapers off and it's just like we're above the value area. If we are to see a breakout, we want to see that increasing volume, but rather with what we've seen previously is we're breaking above the level, the volume is decreasing, really shows us, people are not viewing this as value, thus we drop that down each and every time we've tried so far. So this is the first important level for a swing trader. I'm going to zoom in now to the 4-hour chart, and I think it's fair to say we're in a mini range within that bigger range now, and this is from the start of May, okay? Again, some really, really well-respected levels. And what I've loved about this, you can see actually how the value area higher, the bigger range lines up with the value area higher, this smaller range, like madre mia, that is a wonderful, wonderful level right there. You can see how we've rejected off the value area higher. Again, a very small move above. You can see how, just really what I teach here is what works in the market. Again, you see a brief move above the value area high, shot straight back down. So you try and get value above, none is found, and we got a full reversal back down there. Again, here you see the rally up to the value area high. It attempts. Move up, straight back down below, move up, quickly back down below. It struggled as we were coming into the value area high. So what needs to happen? You need to see that decrease in price to the downside. And again, what happened on this decrease in price to the downside? We come down to decrease to a good area of value where we're willing to buy again, which was $105,000 zone. I think, remember, this was all explained, right? I was short from the value area high rejection. I'm short from the value area high rejection. Okay, it's real simple stuff that I'm doing here. When you short the value area high, what's a big target? Well, it's the point of control. Of course, on that point of control zone, you have a little bit more lining up in terms of the support, but you can see that the value is not seen above the value area high at this time. So you come down, you search for value to levels where people are willing to buy. And just as it was $90,000 on the bigger range, well, here it was sat at around $105,000. That's value again, right? This is where people are interested in buying. And again, we wait for a lower term time frame entry trigger with the SFP there, but as laid out plain in front of you, like you can argue with this. This was all laid out in front of you. It was very nice indeed to see that move to the downside. And I just remembered, let me put myself back over here for you all so you can actually see a bit of a better picture. I apologize, I was taking up too much of your screen real estate there. And that then leaves us today. We've now seen a bit of sustained price action, right? This is just a quick move up, straight back down below, quick move up, straight down below. Now we've actually seen sustained move above. We've seen several hours of closes above this level. What does that mean? Well, it means, first of all, it doesn't guarantee that we're about to go to all-time highs next. But what it says, we've now broken above value area. Perfect. Okay, in terms of a swing trade, you don't have a short here. So we'll wait for one of two things. This level now, theoretically, should flip into support if we are to see bullish continuation. So again, we're breaking above this level. That doesn't guarantee us a straight move to the upside. What it does say to us is if we get a pullback now, this is a nice support level to look to buy, because this level should, if bullish, flip into support, right? So I will always say this, we do not buy the top of the green candles. You're too late, okay? The long was literally a few days ago when we hit into $105,200. That's the level that we've been ready and waiting for. That's the level and that's the zone where you close your shorts. That's where you open your longs, ready and waiting for a big rise. Now we've had that big rise. Now is not the time, right, to open a long trade here. This is not what we do. So if there's not a long trade to be had here, what can we do? We have to wait for a retrace in price if you miss the long here. And well, I think this is a relatively sensible place, around $107,800. We actually have more than just this level as confluence, by the way. We actually have some naked pointed controls around this little bit of a zone. So you can see here, if we just zoom in on it, it's come down on a bit of a lower term time frame. Let me just remove that. Remember the value area high there. You can see here on the 30-minute chart, we've got the value area high sat with a daily naked point of control zone here. So we got a nice little cluster of support there between $107 and $108,000. And again, you know, just because we've seen this like move to the upside, would I long here? No, absolutely not. I would not long at $110,000. And the real answer is simple. Why would I not long at $110,000? I longed at $105,200. You know, that's the very simple reason. We long when we're dropping down to target. Okay, we long at the drops. Just as we do not long into the resistance of the value area high. No, we look for our short trades around here. And then when you pull back to support, well, you look for the long, just like today. You know, I'm not, you know, it's just would be very strange thing to do to long today at $110,000, even though, yeah, price can push higher, but doesn't mean I'm going to just long while price is moving up, you know, the absolute reversal of that. So anyway, I digress. And yeah, that's what I'd be saying. Oh, this is a really important, we can say that an important support level. So at important support levels, what do? Well, we look to take longs at important support levels. If that support fails, well, so be it. We have to be aware of that as well. That's why if we do look for a long trade at this support zone, we have to have what is known as a entry and a stop loss, right? We have to have a stop loss for if we are wrong on that long trade idea. Okay, we don't get into a long here and hold it forever. And, you know, if price had continued to drop, have no stop. No, we have to have a stop loss. Okay, that's very, very important part of the puzzle in trading. You have to have your risk management in place. So that is having a stop loss, right? Because price could have hit 105, 200, could have been wrong, and we dropped down to $103,000. Well, we need to be out of the trade at that point, right? The same here, right? Price can drop down to around 107, 500. Perfect. It's a long trade opportunity. If we start to break down towards 106, well, we have to have had a stop loss. We have to be out of that long trade, and that's when it's likely will drop down below new lows made from Wednesday. Okay, so it's like you have a long trade setup. If it's invalidated, you look down for lower levels of support. Okay, I would class it as untested support levels. So I really hope I'm making sense to you all here. Again, in my brain, this is all, you know, very, very clear, and, you know, the trading plan, what I'm searching for, the probabilities, the understanding of the technicals, the trades, where we're heading to next. It's very clear, but of course it is a little bit, you know, I've been doing this over a decade. It's ingrained into my brain exactly what, why, when I'm looking for it. Of course, for intermediate, average, you know, kind of, you know, let's call it intermediate traders, it is a lot more difficult. And well, the only thing I would, of course, recommend there is heading over to chartchampions.com. You've got live trading streams like literally happening right now. So if you want to see what it's like to trade live in the action, you know, live trading streams happen every day. We got daily live streams. We got a whole educational library, of course, everything that you need to know inside of chartchampions.com. That's where you will learn literally everything. And so, yeah, if you struggle, that's really would be my biggest recommendation. So I will end with a summary of the question. Are we likely to hit a new all-time high soon, just as the stock market's doing? You know, this is a very, very strong stock market. My answer to that would be yes. It is likely, it is probable, the most probable that Bitcoin heads to new all-time highs. You know, I would be very strong in that opinion, or that bias of being bullish. And I think that this is very, you know, this is contingent on us trading above that big value area high that I've been telling you about. We are starting to see a nice move above the value area high for the third time. Again, the more times we test it, the weaker it gets. So I'm saying that I am bullish. I am looking for new all-time highs while we maintain that value area high support. If we end up, instead of back testing it as support for a long for new all-time high, if we end up hitting the support and losing it and seeing another fake out above the value area high, well, that's where it opens more of that swing short trade. Okay, so you have to be nimble. You have to be on your toes. It's not just like, well, I'm bullish today, so I'm going to be tomorrow and the next day and the next day. It's fine to be, like, for example, bullish today. There's no reason to really be bearish here. But then when you see signs of weakness, it's fine to be bullish today, bearish tomorrow. Or in a sense, okay, understanding time frame. You can even be bullish on the higher term time frame. You can be locally on a day trade, scalp trade, short and like a bearish bias. back down to support where you want a long again for the bigger term time frame bias. Again, trading is very, very, very complex when you think about it, and that's why, you know, I understand it's definitely something you have to study and really educate yourself on, because it's not easy unless you truly know what you're doing. And then it does become, you know, I will always say this is one of the easiest jobs you can do when you know what you're doing well. But anyway, that was my analysis of today. That was my outlook. That was my thought process. I really hope that was helpful for you all. I stemmed doing this video because somebody was commenting, Daniel, are you going short after the job news? I mean, my answer to that is, of course, no. I'm not going short after the job news. Not, you know, no, I'm not doing that. I will be trading the charts. Not to say I will not take a short here. Again, we got some targets above us. You can see here a really nice daily naked point of control above those two liquidity levels. So we got a few options for short trades, right? We got a few options here for the short trades. Or, of course, a loss of the value area high. But for now, you know, I've not shorted that. And so, yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed the video. I remind you one final time, pay attention for the upcoming $10,000 giveaway that we got coming on here with Bybit. And on top of that, you can sign up right now as this video ends. Make use of the $100,000 that Bybit will be giving away. Bybit EU, you know, no downside to registering. Of course, if you're in the EU, you have to register. It's not kind of you know, there's nothing up for debate here, and you can use the same email address that you've used on Bybit.com. You can use the same email address for Bybit EU, right? It's fine. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. I thank you all ever so much, and yeah, what a trade that was from the last video. That's all I can say. That really was an epic trade. Thank you ever so much, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed, and that's me signing out now. Cheers. Thank you, and goodbye.